Hello again and welcome back, everyone. Thank you for tuning in as always. This week, I'm going to show you 6 charts that show the Canadian real estate market is in decline. Now, you don't have to look far these days to find realtors and professionals talking about the number of new listings, the inventory that's building, and of course, the debt load that's building on Canadians and mortgage holders right now. So let's check out these charts and see what I'm talking about. So the first chart here is the sales to new listings ratio. It gives us a snapshot of what kind of a market we're in. Is it a buyer's market, seller's market, or balanced market? We're usually nationally in a balanced market. And you can look here, I have all the Aprils for as long as they've given us the data. This data only goes back to 2019. Other data sets they give us goes further back, such as the average price. But anyway, goes back to 2019. So I have used all the data available for this. And you can see looking at this April, it's around 53% right now. It is balanced market. We've never actually dipped down into a buyer's market below 40% in recent years anyway. And you can see it is the worst April in the last 5 years. So definitely not a good trend when it comes to the health of the market when compared to other years. Now moving on to chart number 2. So chart number 2 is the number of sales for April only over the years. This data goes back to 2007. And the red dotted line is the long-term average, which is just below 40,000 sales per month, or for April, I should say. And for the last couple of years, we're well below that, about 37,000 sales or so for the month. This year was actually lower than 2023. But if you look from 2021 to now, it has been consistently declining. Now, take into consideration, our population is a lot higher than it was even in 2021 and a lot higher than it was in 2007, 2008, 2009. So per capita, the sales are even lower, probably the lowest on record. Moving on to chart number 3, which is the months of inventory or months of supply. I do have something interesting to add to this in a couple of charts from now, but here is the national months of supply. You can see it did reach all-time lows in 2021 and 2022, and we have been trending up since. Our lowers are getting higher, so we're having increasing numbers or months of inventory as time goes on. We are tied at 4.2 months for the last few years now, and it's only April. This will increase as we go into May and June. So we will be reaching a 4-year high very soon. I don't see it not happening. It's trending that way. And of course, April months of inventory is always lower than it is in May or June. So we will see higher numbers soon. Now, for chart number 4, I have isolated just April's months of supply to compare it to all the other Aprils for the data we have available. Our long-term average for this data is 5 months, which we are still well below. We're currently sitting at 4.2 months, but you can see every year since 2021, the supply has been increasing for April. I'm guessing by next year, we're going to be at least 5 months, if not more than 5 months, and that would be April 2025. Now, while we're on the topic of months of supply, one of my followers on X alerted me to a recent conversation on the CP24 show, Hot Property. I don't personally watch it, but it was from the regular guest on there, Alison Clare, and a question that came in and his response, which I found very, very interesting. So the question was, should condo investors be concerned about the reported surge in condo supply in the GTA? Now, this question really hit home for Alison Clare, and his response was very passionate in the way he presented it. Here's what he had to say. I'm not going to play the clip because it's going to get copywritten on here, but I'm going to tell you what he said word for word. It's a good question, but something I want to talk about on the show today, and it's very, very important. It's what I'm seeing. Too many listings come out. Now, I'm an agent. I mean, call me if you want to list. However, we're seeing it dangerously being close to being flooded right now. And this has happened in the last 2 days. And that's the one thing. Unless you're serious about selling your house or condo, don't put it on the market because there's becoming too much inventory and we don't have enough buyers out there yet. And that's a bad mix. So if you are trying to, see the market go up and you want to maximize your equity base, don't put it on the market right now. Then he goes on to say, it's becoming dangerously saturated. So I was reading his word for word from the show, so that's why it seemed a little broken, the English, but of course he is just talking unscripted on the TV. So there's a lot of agents that are saying the same thing. There's a lot of listings coming out. The market's getting saturated. Now he's advising people not to list. Of course, why is he advising people not to list? Well, I'll let you make that decision. I know what I think, but I don't think it's a good idea telling people not to list, because what if prices go down and you've taken this guy's advice to say you don't list your property now, and say the market goes down 20% in a year? So yeah, not good advice in my opinion. But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments, and that full link to that video is in the comments also. Now, moving on to chart number 5 as to why the data shows us we're in a declining market. This is the year-over-year price change for the national average price. Again, as reported by CREA, just like all the charts today. And you can see there, just on the bottom right side, we are seeing a year-over-year decline. Now, I'm going to zoom in on this here. So this was April 2024. It was the first month in the last 12 months that we're seeing a year-over-year decline. So we had seen big declines in 2022 into early 2023. And then we've seen increases because we went through a big period of decline. And of course, they increased throughout last year. Now we are seeing our first month in April back to declines again. So we're going to most likely see a declining trend in the year-over-year prices to continue for at least a few more months, if not the remainder of the year. And lastly, chart number 6. This is the national average residential sale price in Canada. Now, I've showed this chart many times on this channel, and I have showed different bearish patterns. I think a bearish pennant was the last one over there on the right for the most recent data. But today I'm going to add in the mean line. I have done this previously also, but I'm going to go a little further. I'm going to analyze this mean line. Now, when I'm analyzing this, I wanted to see the trends, like what kind of numbers are we looking at? How far above or below do we go on this mean line when we have these swings? So back in 2007 or so, you can see we went 10% above this long-term mean line. Then, of course, that was followed by 10% below when the market stalled, and, well, we had a great financial crisis back then. Next, in 2012 and 2013, we were 7% above, 8% below. Then in 2017, we were 18% above and 8% below, so a big difference there. Our peak in 2022 was 50% above the mean line, which is outrageous. So my point is, when we revert to the mean, we don't just hit the mean. We're going to go below the mean at some level. Who knows what that level will be, but it looks like we can safely say it's probably going to be at least a 10% dip below the mean line. Could be 20, considering the increase or the amount above the mean line. We went 50% there back in 2022. We're currently sitting at 20% above the mean line in April, which is $703,000. You can see it there in the small numbers on the right side. 10% below the mean line will bring us to $531,000. And 20% below the mean line, which is not that outrageous, is $472,000. Now, if you think that we're never going to revert to the long-term mean, you probably have another thing coming. This is probably the most consistent chart there will be. Prices ultimately always revert to the mean. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments, and until next week, I'll see you then.